So, guys, Kathleen Kennedy. The Kathleen Kennedy problem, the Kathleen Kennedy incident. Sounds like a spy thriller. Kathleen Kennedy, as you guys know, head of Lucasfilm, the big Jedi of Star Wars, or she's the Jedi Master of Star Wars. And I know a lot of people would say, don't dare call her a Jedi. But the truth is that Kathleen Kennedy calls the shots, right? She's the boss. Sure. But for our purposes here, for our discussion, I'm saying, and here's the truth, Kathleen Kennedy isn't the whole problem. She's not, I mean, she's definitely deserves her credit, her blame. She deserves her praise if you love her work, and her derision, her criticism, your criticism if you don't like, say, her work. But it's not all about Kathleen Kennedy. A company like Disney, Bob Iger, their board of directors, there's so many people with their sort of hands in the pot, as it were. And in this case, say their hands, their fingers clutching the lightsaber. And they're either Sith or they're Jedi, right? And I guess a lot of fans, people know what I'm talking about. People understand, I guess, at a rudimentary level, or even at just admiring a fan level, that these big multimedia corporations are not just about one person. Yeah, years ago, George Lucas, it was his baby, it was his work, it was his invention and his passion. And then Kathleen Kennedy, as we know, worked for Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, and she became one of the biggest producers in Hollywood. And Disney bought Star Wars, and the reins and the Jedi, the saber, was given over to Kathleen. So now we have a situation where it just seems everything is blamed on one person. I look at all these movies, for example, the sequels, the Disney sequels. You look at J.J. Abrams. I mean, J.J. Abrams at every turn is also one of the defining people of modern Star Wars. Then you have Jon Favreau with the TV shows, and he's had a much better ride and has been much more well received. But one of the things, one of the things I wanted to talk about, a little story, which I'm a big Star Trek fan. I wrote for Star Trek. I wrote for Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. So I've had meetings with some of the biggest producers on the shows, and I can tell you that, again, it's not about one person. It's not about one, producer. But this is a great story. Now, this is about Star Trek First Contact, and it's about the Borg Queen, which she has become one of the most popular love to hate villains. She was in First Contact, and then she was in numerous episodes of Voyager, and she was in the N1 Endgame. She was in the last Voyager episode, the finale, which it was great to see her again. And she was played by other actresses. But this is the story. When Brannon Braga and Ron Moore, the writers of First Contact, when they submitted their script to Paramount, right from the official wiki, while the writers tried to preserve the idea of the Borg as a mindless collective in the original draft, Paramount head Jonathan Dolgen felt that the script was not dramatic enough. He suggested adding an individual Borg villain with whom the characters could interact, which led to the creation of the Borg Queen. So there's an example that at the time, Rick Berman was the head of Star Trek, pretty much, and Michael Piller. There were a couple big producers, but Rick was the producer that would see the creation of the movies, the motion pictures. So he had done Generations with Ron Moore and Brannon Braga as writers. Then they did First Contact. And as I read to you, when that script was submitted first, Paramount head Jonathan Dolgen said, "This isn't good enough. You need another character." And that's how they came up with the Borg Queen. So the story illustrates that as much as Rick Berman was sort of the Kathleen Kennedy of his day, and people would criticize him all the time. I remember constant criticism on all the websites. I had nothing but good interactions with Rick Berman when I wrote for Star Trek. So it's curious and kind of comical to me that everyone is blaming one person, in this case Kathleen Kennedy. J.J. Abrams, even Ryan Johnson, even Bob Iger of Disney. There's so many people involved. And what's really interesting is recently, Kathleen Kennedy, there was rumors that she was going to retire. She was going to step down, I guess, this year at the end. This is from an article, CCH Oracle, about just a day ago. Quote, in a Q&A, Kathleen Kennedy was asked several questions, including the first about her retirement. She responded, quote, the truth is, I want to make it loud and clear. I am not retiring. I will never retire from movies and die making movies. A bold statement saying she won't retire in the near future. So we're stuck with Kathleen Kennedy, if that's the way you want to look at it. I'm not an actual fan of her work. I'll say that I'm not, but I am also knowledgeable enough to know you can't blame it all on Kathleen Kennedy. So you can say she's almost like that shiny object, that little decoy, because Bob Iger, Ryan Johnson, J.J. Abrams, I mean, a host of even Dave Filoni, they're saying these are the people that are calling the shots, and Kathleen Kennedy just happens to be sort of the head. Right? So what do you think? I just think it's funny that all these rumors get started. She's going, she's going. They say it every couple of months and it never happens. And she's given, I think, a lot more blame than she should be. Maybe she's given a little too much credit as well. So what do you think? What's your thoughts? Give us your feedback. Hope you're enjoying. Hope you're subscribing. See you soon.